This is Sting Op Fun at 41 by Kimberly Krey. Chapter 1. September. Kirsten. Jack flings open the passenger side door as soon as I pull beside the soccer field. He flips his growing bangs from his face and leans forward to adjust his shin guards, which sends his hair back over his eyes once more. "Wanna know something weird?" he asks. I survey my 14-year-old son, realizing this could veer into territory I'm not prepared for. Sure. Every time Dad comes to my games, he sets his chair up next to Parker's mom, Trish, and they talk the whole time. I shrug. So it's like they're not even watching the game. You know Dad's not into sports. It's not that, he interrupts. They're both married to other people. It's weird. I shake my head, recalling how high the jealousy factor is at his age. Early teens who were going together couldn't look at another person without a hallway drama unfolding after school. Jack, I say, when you've been married as long as your dad and I have, you learn to not look into things too much, you know? We'd make ourselves crazy. He climbs out and closes the door. Seconds later, the hatchback opens. Whatever. And I also think it's weird that every time you come, she doesn't. It's like she knows he won't be here, so she sends Beau instead. Normally, I might ask how he knows the name of Parker's parents, but in this case, there's no need. Everyone knows Beau and Trish Wheaton by name. They're abnormally attractive and richer than everyone, too. I climb out of the car and meet Jack around back. He hands me my tote bag before grabbing a lawn chair, then flings the net bag filled with soccer balls and cones over one shoulder. "You don't have anything to say to that?" he prods. I take a sip of my matcha tea and slip the tote bag onto my shoulder. "They probably just switch off every other game like we do. You only think you do that," Jack says. "But the schedule gets messed up all the time. Dad came 2 times in a row, do you remember that? And she was here for both of them. And while it would have been his turn the week following, you came since you'd missed the last one. If they were trading off, it would have flipped to her coming when you do and Beau coming when Dad does. But that didn't happen." I blink, feeling as if I've just lost 1 year of my life listening to this. "I bet you $20 Beau's here today instead of Trish." My head falls heavily to one side. "You don't have $20, Jack. I won't need it," he assures. I don't say anything. There's no need. I trust Greg. I have to. His job as a public accountant has him traveling so often that I'd make myself crazy if I didn't. Besides, the chances of a woman like Trish cheating on her husband with a guy like my adorably geeky Greg are about 0. When Beau gets here, Jack persists as we near the field. "Sit by him. Set up your chair and talk to him like Dad talks to Trish. Parents don't play little games like that, Jack. We don't have time for it. Besides, how would that make your dad jealous when he's not even here?" Jack glances over his shoulder. Since he's the co-captain of the team and in charge of setting up today, we're the first ones here besides poor Lenny Walker, who seems to have not found a life outside soccer. He continues in a hushed tone. "I don't want you to sit by Beau to make Dad jealous. I want you to sit by Beau so you can ask him if he knows his wife flirts with Dad every chance she gets." His eyes are fueled with enough fury that I know he believes what he's saying. A knot of discomfort wriggles through me. Jack has a level head, so I can't dismiss him entirely, but I have to remind myself that he is, in fact, a teenager. He's in that season when hormones have their gritty claws in every aspect of life. He might not be seeing things through rose-colored glasses, but by no fault of his own, the kid is viewing things from a magnified lens. Everything is blown right out of proportion at this age. When I don't reply, Jack tisks in apparent disgust, hands over the collapsed chair, and strides onto the field. "So, what?" I ask, rushing toward him to close the gap. I glance over at Lenny, who doesn't appear to be close enough to hear. I keep my voice low anyway. "Are you saying Dad flirts back?" His face changes into an expression I don't recognize on him. I can see in his eyes that he's deliberating, struggling with himself to say what he wants, or perhaps doesn't want, to say. At last, he nods. "Sorry to break it to you, but yeah, he does."
Chapter 2. Beau. This is going to be awkward, I dare myself to say as I unfold a lawn chair beside Jack's mom. But apparently my son and your son think our spouses are hooking up at their soccer games. The woman, pale-skinned with strawberry blonde hair, shifts her sunglasses to the bridge of her nose, her large hazel eyes widening. "Oh my gosh, I know," she says, laughing and sliding the sunglasses back in place. "What the crap?" It's a dismissive tone, which is good. I'd never believe it myself. Trust me, I've seen the guy. So at least we're on the same page. "I don't know about Jack," I say, "but Parker is paranoid." Is this the sort of thing they teach in school these days? How to make unjust assumptions about your parents' social life? I move to stand in front of the chair, looking out over the field until I spot Parker guarding the goal as the practice kicks pummel in. He easily swats one, and then another away from the goal box net before diving across the length to block a low kick aimed for the back corner. Parker clobbers it beneath his weight. "Nice," I say with a clap. "It's a good thing they have Parker," Jack's mom says, smoothing a hand down the length of her ponytail. "He's incredible." "Did you play?" "Jack's great too," I tell her. "We might be biased, but I'm sure you and I could agree that without our boys, this team would be screwed. And yeah, I did play." I'm sure this woman, like every other soccer mom here, already knew that. I didn't get the name Wheaton weapon for nothing. Parker misses the next two shots, one of which was from freaking Lenny Walker, who might just be the worst player on the team. Granted, Parker has more than one teammate taking their aim at him at once, but sheesh. I walk around to the back of the lawn chair and pace. I never can sit during a game. Heck, even the practices make me anxious. Jack's mom hollers something over her shoulder, but I miss it, so I stride closer and lean over her chair. "Huh?" She looks up at me over her shoulder and toys with her visor before smoothing her hair yet again. She primps a lot. "Greg never played," she says. I furrow my brow, irritated that I'm missing some of the pre-game action. Parker better not let Lenny get another one on him, even if it is just practice. "What was that?" I urge. She waves a dismissive hand. "My husband, Greg. He never played soccer. He's not a sports fan." I nod, not saying that I could have told her that by looking at him. "Yeah, Trish isn't either, now that we've got that out of the way." "Hey," I say, "how about we tell the boys we discussed it, thank them for their concern, and tell them we agree that they're overreacting and there's nothing to worry about. You good with that?" "I'm great with that." I nod. "Good. Now let's see if these guys can make it to finals."
Chapter 3. Kirsten. I'm surprised to see Beau show up to Jack's next game. Despite what Jack told me, I assumed Trish would be here instead. It's technically the other spouse's turn. I sigh, and glance down at the extra matcha tea I picked up at the coffee loft. I figured it'd be a nice gesture. Trish is used to talking to my husband during the games. I'd be the perfect shoo-in. In fact, during the opening practice, I initially planned to thumb through the dozen library books I gathered to select some Halloween reads for story time at work. But again, I assumed I'd be chatting with Trish, so I didn't bring them. As Beau approaches in all his man-bun glory, I shove my chilled hands into the pockets of my jacket and glance away from the practice on the field, which so far consists only of Jack and Lenny. Parker's walking alongside his father. The two seem to be arguing by the look of their postures. Parker reaches out and gives Beau's shoulder a push. Beau returns the gesture and the two laugh. Okay, so maybe they're not arguing after all. Before I can tear my gaze off the pair, Beau's eyes find mine across the field. I'm quick to dart my focus back to Lenny and Jack. Jack's giving Lenny some tips on his drive shot. I was hoping to put Jack's silly suspicions to rest when I relayed the news Greg shared last night. Due to a last-minute out-of-town work trip, I'd told him, "Your dad won't be able to attend any of the next 3 games." If these games are the supposed rendezvous place for Greg and Trish, I doubt Greg would have been so anxious to leave town. Still, I really did expect to see Trish today. I was planning to prove Jack wrong. But now, the one time I replace Greg, expecting to see Trish like Greg would have, Beau shows up instead. Probably because Trish weaseled her way out of coming. It's a miracle she came to any of them, as prissy and pampered as she is. She probably still brings that stupid fan I saw her with at practice a few times. I hate admitting to myself that I spent an hour and a half looking for this pair of earrings, because I wanted Trish to know she wasn't the only girl in town who owned Gucci. Ugh. I hate me sometimes. You know who else I don't like? Beau. He's short-tempered, standoffish, and just as snobbish as his wife is. If I'm being honest, I feel like I can't be myself around people like them. Like I have to sit up straighter, look prettier, sound smarter. And as a woman who hit the big 4-0 last year, I don't have the energy for it. I outgrew this insecure and unsure stage in life, so why now is it creeping back, making me focus on superficial crap I don't usually think of? Sup, says Beau as he plunks his lawn chair on the grass beside me. Hey. I keep all levels of energy from my tone because I don't want him to think I'm excited to see him. I'm not. Most women would be, as ridiculously attractive as he is, but he should know that not every single woman in the world is ready to fall all over themselves at his feet. Especially this happily married woman who got the cold shoulder from him last week after the "our spouses aren't cheating" chat. Lenny puts Jack's lesson to good use by driving a straight shot right past Parker and deep into the corner of the net. "Parker," Beau yells. "Are you freaking kidding me? What did we just talk about?" I roll my eyes. "It's a practice," I can't help but say. "So what? So just be glad that Lenny's getting better. They might make it to finals after all." From my periphery, I see Beau roll his shoulders back in irritation before he breaks into a pace behind me. I don't know why he even bothers bringing the chair. It's not like he ever sits on the thing, unless Trish came too. Perhaps she stayed back in the car to finish painting her nails or something. "Is your wife on her way?" I ask, purposely not using her name. The guy didn't know my husband's name, so why flatter him? His face scrunches, but he doesn't take his gaze off the field. "No." "I thought it was her turn," I say. When he doesn't reply, I lift my tea and take a sip. After I set the warm cup back in place, I glance at the opposite drink holder in the collapsible chair. I hate that I picked up an extra one for Trish, and she's not even here. I'm more agitated than I should be, I know that, but the acknowledgement doesn't change anything. I'm just really bugged all of a sudden. "Why isn't Craig here?" Beau asks. I lift a brow. He means Greg, but since it's close enough, I don't correct him. Honestly, I'm impressed he remembered the general sound of it. "Work trip," I say. "Does he have those often?" I snatch the extra tea from the drink pouch and lift it over my head toward him. "Yep, and you might as well have this. I brought it for Trish." When he doesn't take it from me, I glance back to see him staring at the cup like there's vomit inside. "What is it?" "Matcha tea from the coffee loft. My sister owns the one on." "No thanks," he interrupts. Agitation revs hot in my blood. So hot that I suddenly pry off the lid, dump the tea onto the grass beside me, then shove the lid into the cup. I stuff the empty container back into the cup holder and bring mine back to my lips, eyes fixing back on the field. Beau doesn't speak to me again, which suits me just fine. And though Jack's team takes the win once the game is said and done, my mood doesn't lighten.
Chapter 4. Beau, Jack's mom's a freak, I say as I cram into the driver's seat behind the steering wheel. Parker glares over at me. "That's rude." Might be rude, but it's true. I said I didn't want her tea, and she made a scene of ripping off the lid and dumping it out right in front of me. Didn't say another word. "You were probably rude about it." I said no thanks. Parker puffs out one of his exhausted-sounding breaths. He does a lot of those lately. "You're ruder than most men, Dad. You know that, right?" I doubt it. "No, it's true. You just get away with it because you're better looking than most of them, too." I shoot him a look, but he doesn't return my gaze. Just keeps his sights outside the window. "You really think that?" I ask. I know it. I laugh a little. "Sheesh, honest much?" "Just with you. You don't believe in lies, not even white lies." "Right, I don't." Parker shifts in his seat. "You don't get it. The whole world functions on white lies. If everyone acted like you, we'd all kill each other." I laugh again. I can't help it. Where is all this venom coming from? If everyone was like me, no one would be raising this. Snowflake generation. I'll tell you that much. "I'm not a snowflake," he says. "You can thank me for that." I shake my head and turn on the radio. "My son thinks I'm a jerk, huh?" "I'll show him I'm not." "That was a nice win today," I say. "Thanks. You and Jack carry that team." "Lenny's getting better," he says. "Did you notice that?" I decide not to tell him that Jack's wacko mother is the one who pointed that out to me. Yeah, I did. It goes quiet until we're almost home. Are you thinking about it? Parker asks suddenly. Thinking about what? There goes that annoyed exhale again. About Jack's mom. What you said to make her dump out the drink in front of you like that? Parker, I'm telling you. She held it up, said she brought it for Mom, and that I might as well have it. I asked what it was. She told me. Then she started talking about her sister who owns some coffee shop, which I really don't care about, but that's when I remembered what matcha was. It's that nasty-looking green stuff, so I said no thanks. The end. Did you acknowledge what she told you about her sister owning the coffee loft? How do you know what it's called? It's a really cool hangout, Dad. The fact that Jack's aunt owns the one right on the beach where the old train station used to be? That's really cool. I heard she's going to expand by adding train cars where you can hang out and study. It's bad, eh? I say, as Parker pipes up again. So maybe instead of making assumptions or calling people names, you should stop and think about your own behavior. Only this generation of kids lectures their own parents. I never lectured my old man. I'd have probably gotten a taste of his fist if I had. I've never heard anyone else call Jack's mom a B-word, Parker continues. My eyes widen. Whoa, I never called her a B-word. I called her a freak. Parker shakes his head. Same thing. Nope. Your generation needs to learn this. They are absolutely not the same thing. A B-word I can handle. But when some chick pulls out the freak card, I suck air through my teeth. Yikes. We're at the iron gates leading to our private drive, so I roll down the window and wave my card over the reader. The ocean roars from the other end of our property. It's louder today. We're probably approaching a full moon. The gates retract, and I drive through, nodding at a couple of guys from the landscape crew. See, I'm a nice person. I always nod at these guys. As I pull the bends along our circular drive, I spot Paige's artwork in colorful pastels on the sidewalk, the driveway, even the fountain. Good thing Mom's out of town, I say. She'd be livid. Don't you think it's odd that she's suddenly taking all these girls' trips? I catch him putting his hands down. Did you just put girls' trips in finger quotes? Dude, being a full-time mom is hard work. She deserves to get away and have a little fun, don't you think? I didn't know full-time moms had nannies and house cleaners. Not all do. But that shouldn't minimize your mom's contribution. This is a big house. It's a lot to take care of. As soon as we step inside, we're rushed by our nanny, Polly. One thick braid hangs at either side of her head while her fists rest on her hips. If Paige's mother is going to insist on being gone so much, you might need to bring on a second nanny. I look around the house for any evidence of distress. What's the problem? Paige is angry, and she's lashing out. She does not like it when her mother is gone. I roll my eyes. She's only been gone a day. Yes, but the trips are increasingly close together, and Paige is really starting to act out. I've never known a woman who needs this many nights away, especially one who has a full-time nanny and a housekeeper to boot. I can't help but shake my head. It's the second time I'm getting attacked over Trish's stupid girls' trips. You know what, Polly? Molly. Oh. I frown. Is it your sister who's Polly? She shakes her head. That's Holly. What kind of lunatic names their kids Molly and Holly? I'm waiting. Molly taps her toe to prove it. Parker cracks open the French doors and steps onto the patio with a Gatorade in his hand. I want to tell little Miss Molly not to bother coming back because I don't like her tone, but after Parker's sermon on kindness, I decide to proceed with caution, even if the chances of him hearing me over the ocean are slim. What time do you get off today? I ask her. She glances at the microwave. 7. I was supposed to start making supper an hour ago, but Parker lifts his nose to the breeze. He's not looking, but I know he's listening, or at least trying to. My nostrils flare. Why don't you take the rest of the evening off with pay? I'll take it from here. Thank you. Only it doesn't come out sounding appreciative. It sounds like what she's really saying is, that's the least you can do, already. She's gathering her things and grabbing a jumbo-sized keychain that probably weighs more than her head. Sure, I say. Enjoy your night. She looks over her shoulder as Paige bursts into song from her way-too-loud karaoke mic upstairs. The song is Since You've Been Gone, and 7-year-old Paige sounds every bit as pissed off as Kelly Clarkson herself. You too, Molly says, and rushes out.
Chapter 5. October. Kirsten. I glide my neatly nude lipstick over my bottom lip, trace up and along my Cupid's bow, then rub my lips together as I step back to eye the results in the mirror. Please tell me I won't still be doing this for my own husband one day, my sister Maggie says from the edge of the tub. It's hard enough to find a good one in the first place. I roll my eyes. I'm not doing anything that special. She gives me that I call BS look through the mirror. Oh please. You're dressed in pleated slacks, high heels and Gucci earrings that look heavy enough to rip your earlobes, and with the hair and the smoky eyes and the nude lips. Are you trying to be a Kardashian? Because that's what it looks like. She waves a hand toward me. This is not how you typically dress. Do you think he doesn't like you the way you are? I pace my exhaled breath through pursed lips as an image of Trish sears my brain. You're a lot younger than me, okay, Mags? You have no idea what it's like to be married to a man for over 15 years. He stops looking at you, stops thinking of you, stops talking to you like you're someone he's interested in. You're just partners in parenting. Maggie's shoulders slump. That's depressing. It's partly my fault, too. I sigh and lock eyes with her in the mirror once more. As she holds my gaze, emotion grips hold of me. I look away when my eyes well with tears. I don't want her to see how I'm hurting. Heck, I didn't realize I was hurting this bad until I tried to reverse the downward direction my and Greg's marriage took somewhere along the way. Maggie hurries over to me and rests a hand on my back. He's just been gone so often, I say, and when he is home, I keep thinking things will be different, that I'm going to make them different somehow. It can't be all one-sided, Kiers, Maggie says. I nod and sniff. I know, but I'm a librarian. I rarely do more than pull my hair into a ponytail and wear jeans and a t-shirt each day. Maybe if he sees me wearing something out of the ordinary like this, he'll what? Be more attracted to me? Because I'll look like Trish, and she's the type of woman every man secretly dreams of. But I don't voice that. Instead, I shrug. He'll start making efforts of his own. If you say so. She wraps her arms around me and kisses my cheek. You look incredible. Greg is lucky to have you. He married up, you know? She strides out of the bathroom but hollers over her shoulder. And I mean, way up. I laugh. My friend said the same thing when we first got married. Greg was so serious-minded, which put him on the nerdy side in the social scene. Bye, sis. Oh, and have fun on your date tonight. What did you say he is? A plumber or something? An electrician, Maggie answers. But he sent me the cheesiest pun about our date, so I'm already second-guessing it. I lean my head over the railing. What was the pun? He said he hoped his height wouldn't shock me, and that I should count on plenty of electricity between us. She rolls her eyes, and I can't help but laugh. Okay, so those are pretty lame. What did you text back? Maggie sneers. See you in a latte hours? Ha, ha, I say with a wave. Love you. Let me know how it goes. Will do, Maggie says. Love you too. I hear Jack come in from the patio. Hey there, Jackman, Maggie says. You got any fun plans tonight? Jack, who's taken to mumbling recently, replies only loud enough for Maggie to hear. Not that it matters. I already know what his plans are for the night. The garage door opens. It's either Maggie leaving or Greg is home. A surge of adrenaline shoots through me as I rush back into my room to check my reflection. I hurry into our closet, spray Greg's favorite perfume into the air, and walk slowly through the mist. The bright fragrance reminds me of the time we first fell in love. I hope it'll do the same for him. I want to be more than Greg's parental partner. Jack will be grown soon, and then it'll be just me and Greg again. What then? The sound of his voice sends a thrill through me. He's home. I bite my lower lip as I hear Jack talk about the upcoming soccer tournament in Richmond. I've been looking forward to the weekend getaway, one we get to take as a family. I nod, back straight, shoulders poised. Ready. I barely make it to the staircase as Greg jogs up to the top, his travel bag clutched in his fist. Hey, he says as he passes me. I put my laundry stuff down there by the washroom. I'm going to hop in the shower if you don't mind. Jack clears his throat. You look nice, Mom, he says from the bottom of the stairs. He turns his gaze to Greg, but he's already disappearing into our bedroom. Thanks, Jack. Mind if we just stay in tonight, babe? Greg calls. The shower flicks on. I'm just too beat. Jack gives me a sad smile that makes my chin quiver. Sure, I say loudly so Greg can hear it over the shower. I'll order something in and toss your clothes in the wash. I clear my throat, praying the tears will stay at bay in front of Jack. My mind scrambles for a pleasant distraction as I take the stairs in my heels. It feels nearly foreign to me now, being in heels. Meanwhile, Trish probably wears hers to bed, making sure her feet permanently hold that feminine arch. What's wrong, Mom? Jack asks. You look sad. I sniff and cover my face. It's just hormones. Jack comes up and gives me a hug. I've got to learn to deal with them sometime, he says, gingerly patting my back. Yeah, I guess you do. Thanks, I say against his shirt. I sniff again and pull back. Is that cologne? He grins and slaps his jaw. It's aftershave. I try to keep the surprise off my face as I study his. Ah, and how did you get so tall all of a sudden? I thought I'd tower you in these heels. Jack straightens up and puffs his chest. Red meat! Lots of it. Yes, he is on a red meat kick. I told you those steaks would do it, I say. You were right. I look at my handsome, growing much too quickly son. You look very nice tonight, too. What time does Parker's party start? In like an hour, but they're coming to get me early. They, as in Trish and Parker? Beau and Parker? Beau and Trish? I want to ask who he means by they, but I resist. And did you say it's a boy-girl party? He nods. Will Lydia be there? Lucky for me, Jack has been telling me about his crushes at school this year, probably because Greg's been gone so often. Jack's cheeks turn pink. The cutest, shyest grin pulls at his lips. Maybe. I nod and suck in a breath. Okay, just be good. I will. No spin the bottle. Mom! A knock comes to the door. Or, truth or dare, I add as I stride over and pull it open. There won't be any, truth or dare. I promise, says the far too full of himself man standing at my door. Beau? Hi, Mrs. Hill, he says, eyeing me up and down. Which is a lot more than Greg did. My face flushes. Kirsten, I say, holding out my hand like I'm in a business meeting. Beau looks at it for a blink. Please just shake it so I don't feel dumb? He does, and his hand feels like solid steel. Kirsten. He turns his dark brown eyes on Jack. You ready, man? Sorry Parker couldn't come with me. We lost our housekeeper recently, so Parker is making the place shine like the top of the Chrysler building. Beau shoots me a look to see if I catch the reference. I do. It's a hard knock life, I say. Beau grins. Exactly. Have a nice evening. Thanks. You too. Beau, who's halfway down the driveway, spins on one heel. Wish me luck. The wife gets home any minute, and she doesn't know there's about to be a party at our place. You're kidding. I laugh. He shakes his head. Serves her right for running off for a girls' trip. Something disruptive slithers through my center. Right, I say. Bye, Mom. Hope you and Dad have a nice night. Thanks. Love you. I watch, waiting to see if he's too cool to say he loves me in front of his friend's dad. Love you too. My heart melts a little. Today, I needed that more than ever.
Chapter 6. November. Beau. Chlorine, you've got to love it. I spent my childhood summers at the city pool since we didn't live close enough to the beach. First as a daily patron, we had a pass. Then as a lifeguard during my teenage years. Being in the hotel pool now with Paige, Parker, and a few of his friends from the team is a crisp splash of nostalgia. I burst through the surface of the water and roar like the sea creature I'm supposed to be. Paige lets out a shriek. Where's her surviving rescuer? I growl. Only one remains who can save her. That'd be me, Lenny says from the edge of the pool. But I'm not feeling well. I'm about to get annoyed at the kid. We're in the final stretch of the game after all. When Jack speaks up, slap my hand and I'll switch you out, he suggests, leaning far over to make it easy. Hurry, man, you can do it. We've got to save her. Lenny actually does it, theatrically reaching out in slow motion like it's sucking the life out of him. I watch while the awkward kid grins as Jack rushes toward Paige with the pink unicorn tube. I'm coming, princess, Jack hollers. I shake my head. Lenny is as socially inept as it gets, yet Jack has a way of taking the edge off, making him appear normal almost. Jack's a better person than I was at his age. Than I am now, actually. Parker's been telling me I should let up on the guy when I gripe about his performance in games. He's nice to Lenny and all, but no one goes out of their way like Jack does. Jack's a good kid, I decide as he crosses the golden floating finish line with the princess at last, safe from enemy territory. You might have defeated us this time, I snarl, wiping the water off my face. But we'll be back. Paige giggles and pumps a fist. We did it, she says, giving Jack a high five. Parker rolls his eyes. I know he's getting old for games like this, but Paige is at the perfect age for them. I'm glad he'll still suck it up and play along. Okay, guys, I tell them, you've earned yourself 2 hours of freedom. Go to the outdoor hot tubs if you want. Pick up chicks. Kick back cokes. Just be in front of the hotel ready for practice by 4. You got it? Lenny, whose folks didn't come, nods, climbs out of the pool, and heads for the stack of towels nearby. Parker and Jack say their goodbyes to Paige, sending her floating back toward me on the unicorn floaty. Inwardly, there's a puzzle I'm working to solve, but I'm just not sure what it is. Whatever's bothering me is sitting someplace beyond reach, dangling in the fray. I'm in sales, which means I make a habit of figuring people out. They're like puzzles to me. At first, I collect pieces at a time through Zoom calls, dinner parties, and drinks at the clubhouse. All the while, I'm searching for that one key to unlock their need for one of our plans. Yet before it strikes, before I crack someone's specific code, I get a sensation that feels just like this. Only this time, I have no idea what puzzle I'm trying to solve. What answer is floating beyond my grasp? Are you upset, Daddy? Paige asks, her tiny toes dangling off the edge of her floaty. No, I say. Why? You told Mommy you were mad she wasn't coming. I wish she had come, I say. And I thought you were singing when Mommy and I were talking. I stopped so I could hear you guys. It's mean of Mom to stay home. She doesn't feel well, Pumpkin. I reach out and secure her withered, waterlogged feet in my hands. She said you're only mad 'cause you can't pump iron in the hotel gym now. I roll my eyes, not liking how much Paige had overheard. The fact is, since Parker and Paige's nanny griped about Trish's girls' trips, I've been bothered by them myself. I've been skipping the gym more than ever. At least one of us should be at the crossroads with our kids, and that's what I thought Trish wanted too. To be there before they went to school, and when they got back. Is that too much to ask? I feel like I'm juggling it all by myself lately. And when Trish is home, she's racing from one appointment to the next. Tanning, nails, hair, lashes, waxing. Not to mention shopping. I never wanted her to feel trapped or resent parenthood by being a stay-at-home mom, but I had no idea she'd want so little to do with our kids. So yeah, forgive me for thinking I'd finally get to have a couple of hours to myself at the gym without making our kids feel like they're being raised by nannies. Forgive me for thinking I'd actually get a sliver of vacation time for myself while Trish lounged in the pool with Paige. It feels like I'm both the stay-at-home parent and the breadwinner. It's exhausting. I wonder why Jack doesn't have any siblings. Kirsten Hill seems like a good mom, one who's actually involved in her son's life. Heck, before I knocked to pick him up for the party, I actually heard Kirsten ask him if Lydia would be at the party. I, of course, know who Lydia is. She's Jack's mega crush, who also happens to be besties with Parker's mega crush Angie. I know because Parker tells me stuff like that when we shoot hoops or play video games. But would Trish ever know that? No. I fling myself onto my back, extending my arms and pulling Paige along with me as I kick us across the pool. It comes to my attention that I'm nearing that mental fray, the spot that's been pestering me for I'm not sure how long. It involves Trish. Boop. Paige chimes. We're at the edge. I spin us in the opposite direction and kick again. Maybe I just feel guilty for being so disappointed in Trish. I should have known a woman who was so obsessed with all those things before I married her wouldn't suddenly change after we had kids. I need to try harder with Trish. I should send her some roses, send her some dinner. I bet she hasn't fixed herself anything. I laugh as I picture what she's probably doing at this very moment, soaking in the tub with a bottle of wine at her side while she catches up on episodes of her favorite drama. Hey, I say to Paige as I come to a stand and grab a few towels. Let's go back to the room and call Mom. Maybe we can even send her some flowers and food. Do you think she'll like that? Paige claps her hands together and pulls that cheesy wide grin I love so much. Yes, yay, she will love that. As we dry off, gather our things, and slip into our slides, mine with the Seahawks logo, Paige's with mermaids, I feel better already. That's all I needed to do. Show my wife some love. It feels good to do things for her. Hi there, you guys, comes a familiar voice, pulling me out of my musings. I glance up to see Kirsten Hill walking into the pool room in a cover-up with a book in her hand. Hey, I say, smearing a towel over my head before tossing it into the hamper. Paige jumps up and down. We're going to send my mom flowers and food. Kirsten's eyes flash to me. Lucky mom, she says. Is she? Not here? I shake my head. Backed out last minute. Sick, I add weirdly. I clear my throat. She felt kinda sick. Headache. Shut up. Why am I losing my cool here? My gaze darts to the book in Kirsten's hand, and suddenly I'm reading the title out loud. How to Not Raise a Snowflake? She twists the cover so it's against her chest. Her cheeks flush red. Don't judge. You should know I also read one called How to Not Raise Ann. She covers one side of her mouth and whispers, A-hole. Greg hates that I obsess over parenting so much. I just don't want to mess up, you know? We love our kids, right? But that doesn't mean we can do everything for them or give them every little thing their hearts desire. It's tough terrain. I look at her and blink, feeling as if she has somehow crawled into my headspace. I'm with you on that, I say. Probably why our boys get along so well. Right, Kirsten says. She gives Paige a wave. Have fun sending your mom stuff. Thanks, Paige says with a single, happy hop. I head toward the exit, Paige's pruned hand in mine, that sinking feeling flooding back in with a vengeance. It's like a game I used to play with Parker when he was young. I'd hide something, and as he looked for it, I'd tell him whether he was hot, getting closer or cold, wandering far away from the hidden object. If his favorite army truck was tucked beneath the throw pillow, I'd tell him he was getting warmer as he neared the couch. This conversation with Kirsten has me feeling like my hand is hovered over the very throw pillow hiding that evasive morsel. At least, I think it is. There's only one way to find out. Hey, I holler, spinning in place to see Kirsten. Where's Glenn? I thought he was coming. Greg, she says. Yeah, we were so excited because he was finally going to be able to join us. The sensation heightens, spiking into prickly territory. The tiny hairs on the back of my neck stand like lightning's about to strike. I'm lifting the pillow, peeking beneath. She pulls a half smile that manages to look even sadder than a frown. But, I prompt. Work. Her gaze locks on mine as that unreachable object slides right into my grip. Its razor blade sharp and already cutting into me with one, warning Nick, this is awkward, but apparently our sons think. It was the first conversation I had with Jack's mom. At the time, neither of us thought it could be true. But as I stand here looking across the pool, I don't see Jack's mom anymore. The fear-filled face of denial, the uncomfortable shift in posture, the averting glance toward the pool, toward the puddle-ridden floor, toward anything that won't make that blade sink any deeper. I don't only see her. I see myself. Well, I finally manage as Paige pulls my hand. Have a nice dip in the pool. She skims her gaze past me to land on Paige and gulps. Thanks.
Chapter 7. Kirsten, this is not a good idea. In fact, it's a very, very terrible idea. If I have 1 ounce of common sense, I will not knock on that door at this hour. I lift my arm, stare at the hair ribbon peeking from my fist, and give the door 3 small taps, so small that probably no one will hear them. That's fine. If no one hears, then no one will open. And if no one opens, I can go back to my room and get some. It opens. Beau is standing there in the wedge of light from the hallway, a very dark hotel room at his back. He squints at me. My heart feels like it's about to implode. "Hi!" Beau smears a hand over his scruff-covered jaw and rumples his hair, which is, for the record, not in the usual man bun. It's hanging at his shoulders in thick, dark waves, making him look like some sort of sea god. If Trish has this guy, who is obviously her exact type, she should leave my goatee-wearing, sweater-vest-loving, geeky, in the most adorable way husband alone. He's mine. Beau must read that something's not right by the look on my face because he steps into the hallway and lets the door all but close. I glance to my right, then to my left. There's no one. "Are the kids asleep?" I ask. He nods. "Zonked out since they played so hard." I nod too. "Same with Jack and Lenny. Did you know Lenny's in our room?" "Well, we got 2 joined rooms since Greg was supposed to come, but yeah." "Yeah," he echoes. I strangle the life out of the ribbon in my grip. I've been thinking. I jump ahead to the heart of the matter because if we're going to do what I want us to do, then we'll have to get moving. Sadly, it only comes out in pieces. "What if we—" I nod, wondering if that's enough for him to catch on to my idea. The way I look at it, it's obvious. "What if we—" he urges, so I give him a little more. Drove back home. Beau is lifting and lowering his chin to follow my eyes as I nod. "And," I add, "if we leave now while the kids are asleep. Of course, you'll tell Parker so he'll know he's in charge of Paige. And I'll tell Jack so he doesn't wake to find me gone and panic." Beau starts waving his rather big hands in front of him. They're hooked to even bigger arms, his muscles bulging in the shadowed light. "Could you try finishing a sentence, please?" "Sorry. It's fine," he says through a yawn before toying with his hair and rubbing his face again. He's tan, naturally, probably Italian. "Well?" "Huh?" He huffs out a breath. "What is it that you're trying to tell me?" I release a trapped breath and nod, twiddling the ribbon I found in Greg's garment bag while sorting his laundry. "I can do this." "You're not going to want to hear this," I warn. "But I've been suspecting it for a while now, so—" His eyes, once dazed, seem to zone in all at once, coming into full focus on me. "Go ahead," he urges. "Do you already know?" I might. It feels like my heart might beat itself to death. "Maybe you should say it." "I'm not going to say it. You're the one who showed up here at midnight." "Yeah, but I ran out of bravery on the way here, I guess." "You can't run out of bravery. You can too. It's a thing." "It is not a thing." He steps forward the slightest bit, and the door comes to a full and final close. Great, now I'm going to have to wake them up to get back in. He looks at me like this is all my fault. It's not. But if I'm right, we do have someone to blame. "Okay," I say, pumping myself back up. "It's coming back. I'm working up the courage again." "Good, nice." He rubs his hands together. "You can do this." I pictured myself saying this one line all the way here, and for 2 entire hours before working up the nerve to shuffle through the hotel halls to get here. I open my fist and glance down at the ribbon wadded in my palm. The gold Gucci logo's plain to see. I glance back up in time to see Beau glaring at it. His expression drops. Not yours?" I shake my head. "Nope." Beau lifts his gaze until it meets mine. I gulp, level a look at those deep brown eyes, and frame the forbidden sentence with my lips at last. "I think my husband is with your wife."